Hello, welcome to tonight's live. I'm talking about relationship anxiety. Relationship anxiety is something that I've had in the past in different relationships in different ways. So when I was with my first serious boyfriend, I was 15. We were together for 6 or 7 years. And I remember the experience being insecurity as in what if he cheats on me? What if we break up? It was like, what if this isn't my forever? And that at the time felt unbearably scary. And so there'd be times where, I would feel that really strongly, and it might make me act in ways that were actually damaging. We did break up. My fears came true, and we actually stayed together way too long because of that anxiety. So that was something that because I was so scared of, like, what if I'm alone? What if this isn't forever? How will I live? How I can't imagine life without him. I didn't, we broke it off. We got back together. We broke it off. We got back together. I could never cope with the thought of him being with someone else, which was a really big snag for me that I just couldn't get past at the time. The next time I experienced relationship anxiety, I remember it was a couple, maybe 6 weeks into a relationship with my ex-husband. And I remember he was fast asleep. He was laying with his back to me. And I just was like, I laid there all night, absolutely petrified, thinking, I need to run. I need to get out of this relationship right now. I can't put myself in this, because what if I have to go through that horrible feeling again of breaking up? What if it doesn't work out? Or he leaves, or he cheats, or he blah, 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 all those kind of scary things. Or what if he's not the right guy? So getting it wrong is also a fear. So I went into that relation. I didn't run. I wrote him a letter basically outlining why I thought he wasn't the right person. There were 3 main points. It was like selfish, you don't communicate or talk about anything, and I can't remember what the third one was, but I had examples for each of those things, and the same 3 things is why we ended up divorcing 15 years later. So I can assure you that whatever problems you have don't go away. They will still be there unless they're resolved. So it's not like a miracle that you can go in and change something. If you're not happy with something, it's likely that you're going to have to either learn to deal with it or change yourself. Now, having reflected back on my divorce back in 2011, I now recognize that I could have made that relationship work. If I was who I am now and I was back then, I could have turned that relationship around and got what I needed and wanted out of that relationship. But I didn't have the skills back then to be able to get what I needed from that relationship at that time. And I had other stuff to learn. So off he went, and both of us are now remarried, and we are both living in different relationships which have their own different challenges. So there's always that thing that, when you exit a relationship and potentially enter into a new relationship, you're going to be bringing your past with you, and they're bringing their past with them. And the older you get, the more that past might be if you haven't done the work. So let's go through what this relationship anxiety might mean for you, how you might be experiencing it, and how I can kind of give you some tips and advice. I want to give you some strategies and examples on how you can minimize it or reduce it or eliminate it even. So basically, with relationship anxiety, or that feeling of like, should I even be here? Should I be leaving? Where you're questioning them, yourself, everything. It's basically a perceived threat. You are actually experiencing fear, and it's just about looking at what is it you're actually afraid of. Sometimes it's fear of our past experiences, like, have I been rejected in the past? Have I not set boundaries in the past? Have I been with the wrong person in the past? Have I been hurt, abandoned, betrayed? All of that kind of stuff. So it can mean like there might be triggers happening for you. So you're being triggered and you might be responding from past pain, past hurt, and the fear around those things. The other thing is the feeling of like, I can't cope with, and it might be, if this means that, then I can't cope with that, or I can't cope with this feeling, or I can't cope with the outcome. And it might be something like fear of being alone, fear of being hurt. And this is all great. It's actually really good stuff. It's positive, because it means that you're being given opportunity. It means that you have the opportunity to dig in and do the work, find out what's going on for you, because life will always mirror back what you need in order to take yourself to the next step, or to grow or heal or overcome something. So the truth is that they're like me, in my, like when I said before that the me of today could handle that situation, that relationship, that marriage, and get a completely different outcome out of it. It's about, who am I in this relationship, and what is it that I can grow or develop or cultivate within me that's going to make this fear go away? Because you can never get another person to heal your fears, or, you know, all that sort of thing. So when we have a solid sense of self, when we're fully supported from within us, and we've got our boundaries, and we're fully self-valued and self-loved, then these fears are typically not there, and we're confident in taking steps and actions in letting the relationship go, or enforcing the boundaries so that the relationship can change, because relationships can change. When you speak to people who have been married for 50 years, they're not still in the same relationship they were 50 years ago. That it's shifted, it's changed. There's usually been a shift in the dynamics and how they interact, things that have gotten better. Typically, they did a study actually on couples that were divorcing, and they followed a group of couples, and there was some that were on the rocks. They all got therapy, and some chose to split up, and some chose to stay together. And they checked them out over a period of like 20 years or something. And 20 years later, the ones who stayed together actually reported being happier in themselves, because the truth is when they chose to stay together, it meant that they had to do the work. Whereas the people that broke up, they went off to learn different lessons and may have had to, you know, overcome different hurdles. But essentially, overall, as a group, the people who stayed together and worked it out ended up with higher levels of expressed happiness and satisfaction. I found that really interesting, so I'm sharing it with you. And that's not to say that if you're divorced like me, I've in my third serious relationship, that you cannot find happiness. Of course you can, but it is a good thing to say, stick, unless there's like safety issues that, never stay in an abusive relationship or anything like that. But it is good to know that it's worthwhile to invest in working things out. Now, I want you to just imagine, and this is just like a bit of an exercise to take you into an imagined state so that you can understand what self-worth does in this relationship anxiety. I want you to imagine that you have the nicest, shiniest, most amazing Ferrari, and you've put a sign on it, and you've put $250,000 on it, $250,000 for the Ferrari, and you know that they're worth even more than that. So this is actually a really reasonable price. And somebody walks up to you and checks it out and says, yeah, this isn't the original door handle. This has got different door handle to the original model, and it hasn't got the modifications that I want. I only want to give you like $200,000 for this. I'm not paying $250,000. And this car's worth it. You know that it's highly sought after and it has everything anyone would want. And you turn around and say, no, sorry, I don't accept your offer. If you want it, you pay the full price, otherwise go away. Now, you wouldn't be upset with that, because you don't ever doubt the value of your Ferrari, because you can see on, car sales or wherever people sell cars these days, that's actually a really good price for this Ferrari, and it is a really good condition. You know the condition of this thing. It's really a good car. So you're not emotionally upset. You're not doubting the Ferrari because you believe in the Ferrari. Someone else might come up and say, I want to buy this car. This is mad. It's amazing. I love it. I've always wanted this. And you know what? I'm happy to pay the full price. And then you get to choose. Do you want to sell it to this person? It's your choice. I mean, if you think they're just going to thrash it and it was your grandfather's car and whatever, you might choose not to sell it to the person because you don't feel that that's where you want that car to go, and that's your choice, and you don't need to feel bad about that either. See how when you put it about an innate object like just a car, you can make these decisions easily and effortlessly because you know what the car is. It's a definable object and it has a value in the marketplace and it's yours and you're in control of it. So you might be thinking to yourself right now, because I guess you've identified that I'm making this example because I'm comparing you to the Ferrari, right? And you might say, well, I'm not a Ferrari, but I'm going to tell you, yes, you are a Ferrari. You are the most valuable thing that you have, and your worth in a relationship is really, really high. And I'll tell you why, because what you have to give somebody is very, very sought after. And this, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, because everyone wants the same thing in their relationships. And that is to be loved. They want to be supported and accepted, and they want connection and communication and fun and affection and trust and to be liked, to be respected. So you already know what you've got to give someone. You already know that you're capable of meeting all somebody else's relationship expectations. I mean, you can love them and be there and listen to them and spend time with them and, you know, all that kind of stuff. You're capable of that. Now, so it boils down to like that feeling, that bad feeling, like I'm not good enough. I'm going to explain to you right now what that is about. And what that is about is that when we don't feel good, when we're experiencing emotions like self-doubt or, you know, sadness or anger or fear or anything, those are really heavy emotions, and they actually make you feel bad about yourself, because when you're feeling all that yuck in you, you don't feel good. You're not going to be that happy, fun, and you can fake it. You can fake it to a degree. I've got a tickle in my throat. You can fake it to a degree, but it won't feel natural, and then you'll start feeling like you're not really enjoying that moment, and they can feel it too. You might engage in some unhealthy behaviors, and it starts to feel like they are making me feel this. So when I'm with you, I feel yuck. So I want to feel loved. I want to feel happy like we used to when we first met, when all the focus was pure and, you know, the energy was high and all the happy hormones were raging happily through us. And that is that first initial love drunk feeling that you get. But when you start feeling these negative feelings, you might blame the other person, like I'm not feeling good in this relationship. We need to talk. You might get defensive, self-protection, start criticizing, like, oh, you know, when you said that, I didn't like that. And, you know, if you only just did this, and why don't you ever do that? And you might withdraw and be like, well, what's wrong? Nothing. What's wrong? Nothing. You might start nagging about your needs. So, you know, all I want is to feel happy. Why can't you ever do this or do that or make me this or whatever? You might get clingy. So like, where are you going? Who with? Why? Become demanding. Become hard work, because all of this is hard work, right? There might be arguments, and you might be inconsistent. Like 1 minute you're sort of like feeling yucky and saying yucky things, and the next minute you're like, hey, why can't we have fun? You know, trying to show them, yes, I still am that really fun person that you fell in love with, because you feel like you don't like the person you're becoming, if that makes sense. So the real the real reason that you're sometimes having this relational anxiety is because when those fear feelings and those bad feelings come up, you start to feel bad, you start to behave bad, you start to have self-doubt, self-questioning, and it doesn't feel good anymore. And if you're not feeling good, how can they feel good? So then you're like, well, I'm the bad person in this relationship. Or you might be protected by your ego and start finding the faults in them, which that then creates a different thing, because now it's all about, well, I don't need to fix me, I need to fix them, or show them what they need to do differently, which becomes counterproductive as well, because like no one enjoys being blamed for someone else's emotions, and essentially no one's responsible for our emotions or us feeling good. So when our self-worth drops, then we're not feeling good. When we don't feel good, we feel like our worth is lower, because, you know, I'm not feeling good, so why would I don't have my value, I'm not feeling worthy. And then it goes around in a cycle. The worse I feel, the worse I feel, the worse I feel, the worse I feel. And what happens then is we make bids for the other person's attention, and we try and get a little bit of that feel good again. So our partner can make us feel good. They can be the source of our security, the source of our love, the source of our happiness. You know, we might feel better when they give us attention and all that sort of stuff. But the only problem with that is that no one's ever going to be doting on you that much, unless it's the very start of a relationship. It's not sustainable. And if they were doting on us that much, we would begin to take them for granted, and it would be annoying. It'd be just annoying to have someone that was that all in your face. So to feel secure long term, it's actually a me job. It's my job to feel secure long term. Don't know what's wrong with my talking today. First of all, the first thing to do is heal the past, heal the triggers, because those triggers are going to trigger those bad feelings. When they're triggered, it's going to reduce our feelings of lovability and worth, and it's just going to put our nervous system back into the past. So heal the past, and that will start solving stuff. Get a positive self-identity. And as a little pro tip, this has nothing to do with your weight or if you're good looking enough or any of that sort of stuff. You might have noticed that there's plenty of ordinary looking people that have got good relationships, and that's not because you know, they've got anything that you don't have. You've got it all. You've got everything that anyone else has within you, and it's ready to offer to someone else. Show up with your cup full. Don't show up with your cup empty like Oliver Twist. Please, sir, may I have some more? That's not going to work. You need to be full within you. And that means that all the stuff that you're looking for and that everybody else is looking for in a relationship, you need to have a self-sustainable source of that within you. That love, that feeling valued, that connection, that affection, that fun, that happiness. You already need to have that when you show up. It's not the other person's responsibility. You're not Oliver Twist. And part of that is making sure that you've got a full life. And that's something that's really important, because a lot of people, when they get into a relationship, it's like everything else falls away. Like, no, I've got this partner, and friends drop away, everything else fades in comparison. Even people have like their children. It's like, well, put the kids first, put the friends first, put your job first, put everything first. It's all got to be a priority somewhere in there. And a partner is meant to complement what you have and become a part of that. It's not meant to be, the spotlight on them. You are the star of your own life. You, not someone else. And I draw a diagram sometimes for people. I'm like, this is where your energy should be, not out there or onto somebody else. Keep your energy in here, your focus in here, and be aware of what's going on for you emotionally. What's your triggers? Because they belong to you. They're not somebody else's. Somebody else can say crappy stuff or do crappy stuff, be selfish, be obnoxious. And you're like, well, yeah, okay, so you're obnoxious, selfish and rude. But that's not mine. That's yours. That's about you, because you're the one doing it. So another point, don't rescue injured humans. Do not rescue injured humans. I think I've told the story before about the black cat that was drowning in the water water drainer. I tried to save it, clawed the absolute crap out of my arm, and I still couldn't save it. And people are like that too. If you try and rescue other people that are injured, you are going to get the crap clawed out of you, and you still will not manage to save them, because you cannot save other people. They need to be at the front of their own journey and their own healing. So you will attract your unhealed equal. So whatever healing work you haven't done, you're going to attract your equal. Now, that doesn't mean that if you attracted somebody when you were in crap city that you cannot build an empire on that. It just means that you and this other person are likely going to need to do the healing, whether it's evident at the front of somebody's persona or it's tucked away in the rear. So heal, 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 and I still do healing now. Strengthen. Self-love, become loved within yourself, be kind to yourself, speak kindly to yourself, nurture yourself, support yourself. You are only going to attract kindness if you're kind to yourself. You're only going to attract nurturing and support if you can nurture and support yourself. Don't abandon, reject, judge, criticize, or ignore yourself, because if you do, you are going to attract someone who does those things too, because like attracts like. I hope I have helped in some way in giving you something to think about, remembering that when you show up into your relationship, it's not just you showing up, it's you and your past to a relationship with somebody else and their past. So there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. And it's really important to notice, okay, I'm feeling something, and instead of blurting it out on the other person, like as a reaction, take a step back, go, right, something in me, I am having an emotion, I am having a fear, get connected back to yourself. What am I actually feeling? What is this about? Find it in your body, because our emotions do trigger physical sensations. Find that sensation in your body. What would that sensation have to say to you? Is it saying, I'm scared, run, you're not safe? And if it is saying that, take the next question. Say, what is it about this situation that's scary or not safe? What is it you're actually afraid of? Look at what the underlying fear is. Is it a current fear? Is it a past fear? How can we navigate that fear? Who would I need to be within myself in order for this not to be scary anymore? These are all questions you can ask yourself. And then look at the relationship. If this relationship was fully healthy, fully healed, what potential does it have? And am I capable of getting it there? If not, how can I grow my capacity so that when I show up in this relationship, I am able to get the most out of it? Because it's like anything, isn't it? You get out what you put in. And if you're putting in fear and insecurity and self-protection, you're going to get back a whole heap of not so nice stuff. Have a fabulous night. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Naomi Stockman, My Local Hypnosis. Bye.